日本時間3日、ドジャースはフィリーズとの地区シリーズに臨むため、敵地フィラデルフィアに入りました。5日の第1戦は、大谷翔平が先発します。この試合の実況を務めるドジャースの地元局、スポーツネットロサンゼルスのスティーブン・ネルソン氏が、試合前にインタビューに応じました。話題の中心はやはり大谷翔平でした。ネルソン氏は、アメリカで生まれ育った日系アメリカ人で、日本の文化への強い敬意を示しました。その上で、アメリカ人による日本名の発音に違和感を覚えることがあると明かし、日本人選手の名前を正しく発音する重要性を説明しました。さらに、ネルソン氏は大谷翔平の人間性とオーラにも言及し、ポストシーズン初登板への大きな期待を語りました。これらの模様を日本語字幕付きでご紹介します。
Shohei Ohtani fellow.
Hey,
He's starting for the
luckily,
Dodgers.
Steven Nelson has some Japanese ancestry. He can tell you the correct pronunciation of the name.
And I appreciate that he does each and every time.
He's Japanese. He's not Irish. Got it.
It's not O apostrophe T-O-N-N-Y. Oh, Ohtani.
Look, I get people like you know even Oral has said this on the air, and so I know fans are probably saying it too. It's like, why do you say it like that? Because I would be disgracing my ancestors if I did not accurately pronounce Japanese names. That's the whole reason. Like, I know it's Roki Sasaki, but in Japanese it's Roki Sasaki. Because like in Western, you know, for us in English, there's extra emphasis on the second syllable, right? Like that's why it's always been Ohtani or Sasaki. But in Japanese, it's equal distribution for all the syllables. Again, things that nobody cares. I get it. I wholeheartedly admit it. But like, there's just something in my being where I just can't not say Ohtani. Right. You know.
And as one of the few Japanese broadcasters in Major League Baseball, you've kind of been tied to Ohtani since long before either of you came to the Dodgers. You've kind of had that connection. Like you presented him with what was that a few years ago when he was on the Angels?
Yeah, it was the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award. That was the 2021 World Series, Atlanta and Houston. And so we were in Houston, and Rob Manfred presented him because, you know, he deserved it. And so, yeah, he was there in town to receive it. And, you know, I knew that there was going to be a ton of Japanese media there. And so I was like, you know, I just kind of wanted them to feel welcomed and kind of seen and to, you know, show respect to them and to Shohei, obviously. And so I worked with my Auntie Grace, who's a diehard Dodger fan. Her and my uncle, you know, they're always at the stadium, and she's fluent in Japanese. And I was like, oh, these are the kind of, I'd like to say this, like, does this make sense? And so she was kind of helping me script something out. And to this day, it is the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life. Because you feel like naked when you're trying to speak a different language. And so that's why when you see players or reporters, you know, trying to conduct interviews in English, like, it is just, you know, you just cannot tip the cap enough, because it is just such a, again, a nerve-wracking thing, because you don't want to say the wrong thing. You know, you don't want to be disrespectful, and you know, all those reasons. So yeah, that was terrifying.
And now you get to call him playing baseball, which is something he's really, really good at. I don't know if you've noticed from where you sit. Like on TV, we can see it. I don't know if you can see it from the press box.
He might make it. $2 million might be too much a year.
Fine, guys, calm down. No, yeah, no, it's amazing, man. Like, you know, and again, and I'm always like, the first thing I say is like, as unbelievable as he is, it's just, he's pretty normal, away from his insane, unicorn abilities on the baseball field. So that, I think that kind of takes the aura to another level when you see the respect that he kind of plays with and the way he's able to compartmentalize and just be hyper-focused and the way he takes care of himself. He's dialed in like every aspect of his life, which of course, has changed forever now with he and Mamiko welcoming their first child this season. But he's insert whatever adjective here because we've used them all at this point. We've exhausted every word.
And now he's starting game 1 for the Dodgers against the Phillies in the NLDS. First postseason start. You get to be on the call on the radio. That's pretty cool as well. How about we talk about a little bit of baseball, a little bit about this team and what's going on. This is an important time of year. It is Geek-timber. What do you need to see out of Shohei? 5, 6, 7, 10 innings?
Yeah, no, it's really just, get out of Kike's way, Shohei. The spotlight isn't yours anymore. It's October now. No, I think, what he did the last time he saw Philly was pretty good. I think the Dodgers would sign up for that with maybe another inning or two. And that's what, Andrew Friedman was saying after the Dodgers clinched against the Reds, that, he's a normal starter now. They slow played him and built him up throughout the second half, and it was, I'm sure, annoying at times or frustrating at times for perhaps all parties involved, including Shohei, to not kind of go full bore earlier. But this is the reason why. It's for this stage like this, and that that game 2 was just so massive in so many ways for the Dodgers. But chief among them was that it allowed them to line things up for the division series. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the division series, but it certainly gives them better odds, I think, just based on how you can now throw Show game 1, off day game 2, and then you get Snell, Yum. You could, and then 4, if that's whomever you want to throw out there, Glass, Kershaw, Glass, and then off day, game 5, their Show on a full week's of rest. So, that's why not playing with their food against Cincy was so massive.
One other thing, we're talking about Ohtani, your Japanese heritage. You came very close to getting to call only the 3rd Japanese-born pitcher to throw a no-hitter in Major League Baseball. Would have been the 4th no-hitter because Hideo Nomo had 2 of them, but. Yeah. Yamamoto came within 1 out of throwing a no-hitter. That game ended up ending very terribly. I don't want to talk about the ending, but what's going through your mind as you're getting closer and realizing the possibility of the history you might be about to call?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I did not let myself think he was going to do it until there were 2 outs.
So that was the problem, huh? Announcer jinx is real, guys.
Well, no, it was one of those things where the whole night I was like, well, I mean, they're going to get a knock at some point. They're going to get a knock at some point. Like, all right, how can this isn't going to happen? It's not going to happen. And then the 2 outs, and then I was like, if he does this, what the hell are you going to say? Again, the quick conclusion I came to, because it's in the middle of the inning, those seconds between batters, internally they feel like longer, but the conversation I had with myself was same like we talked about at the beginning. Keep it simple, punch it, and get out the way. So, God, I just that one, Jeff, because of the context that you preface the question with, the Japanese heritage, the fact that it hasn't been done very often in baseball history. Like, that's why after the game, I was sitting in the booth next to Dr. Krajewski, Rick Krajewski, our researcher and statistician. I was like, that kind of stung. that kind of stung. I'm gonna be honest, because I think just that was the I don't know that I've ever emotionally, personally invested in like a singular night like that in a long time. So yeah, that one stung, and like is then talking to Yama the next day and kind of seeing his attitude that he came to the park with. I was like, well, if he's over it, then
I probably should stop pouting.
If he's fine, I need to buck up here. But why the cutter, Yama? That's like your fourth best pitch.
He dotted it too. He dotted the spot.
So that's that's what he told me. He's like, I was like the only pitch that I didn't have. I wasn't 100% certain on. It was like, do I go with the cutter or do I try the curve? Or the split, and so they went with the cutter. And hey, credit to Jackson Holiday, man. Credit that like in that moment to put that kind of swing on it. And then as far as I'm concerned, the game ended there.
I think it was an important game somehow, as awful as it was, and it stung for you. It stung a lot for us as well watching the ball game. It felt like an important game to lose, because I think from that point on, the team went 15-5 to end the season. Jeff and I did a show. Well, he did a show, and then I got out of my pool and came and joined him on the show to be like, this needs to be effing rock bottom for the team.
Yep.
Thankfully it was. And we there's a lot of consternation about flipping the switch. It seems like some of these boys flipped the switch from that point forward. You're around them. Have you kind of seen a different edge to them?
Yeah, no, that's 1,000% the case. 1,000%. Now, the team meeting that everybody was clamoring for the entirety of the summer, it happened before that game. It happened Saturday in Baltimore. It was the first team meeting called by Dave Roberts all year. And then Yama went out and pitched 8 2/3 no-hit innings, and then they gave it up. So it just goes to show that having a conference doesn't lead to wins. But what that result and the way that result came, what that provided was the team a chance to just finally fully exhale and let it go. I mean, it was talking to folks after the game, it was like a morgue in there. It was just quiet, stunned. Yama was the first one to go over to first Blake Trinan went over to Yama and apologized. Yama told him to not worry about it. It's part of the game. And then Yama went over to Tanner. So that was that. And then the next day, it was like any other day. And that was what told the coaches that they were in a good spot. And talking to some of the players, it was, they're playing music as normal. And I think Kike told me, it was like, the way, like, it was just so, it kind of glanced off of us because it was just so stunning. It was just one of those crazy baseball sport things. It was like, oh my God, what just happened? Well, we don't really have time to think about it. And so I think, that was just the point where everybody said, all right, let's just let go and play baseball today. And they were able to turn things around. They haven't totally cleaned everything up, right? There were still moments of forgetting the little things, but I do think that was rock bottom for the regular season, and the record seems to reflect that since then.
Yeah, although that 15-5 since then, I would guess 5 of those 5 losses were for similar reasons to that one, So there's still, and even some of the wins have been a little bit less relaxing than we might have preferred, and so there's still definitely work to be done. But if nothing else, the offense has decided, guys, we need to make sure that we don't have as many high leverage situations anymore, and that worked in the Red Series, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun watch for the offense, and you talk about the switch being flipped. And then, you know, Jeff, you talk about the offense just as a whole, right? It's not just the big boys kind of carrying the freight and you're waiting for Shohei or Mookie or Freddie to have that one big swing, but the bottom of the order has been terrific lately. And like, that's just, you know, it's a cliche general conversation going into every year. It's like your stars have to be the stars, and then your glue guys the glue guys, and then your role player. Well, that's what we saw in 2024, right? It was, you know, the stars were, you know, they had their moments. Freddie was the World Series MVP. You know, Show was at that point was more just kind of it was his presence than anything because he was hurt. You know, Mookie had a big postseason. Teoscar showed up as the all-star. You know, Muncy was doing his thing, but you know, Tommy Edman, and you know, so that's where you kind of have to push your great team to a championship team is when you get the guys at the bottom, the glue guys and the bench guys involved and chipping in, and that's what we're seeing right now. Teo is the key. It's been a down year for him. Everybody knows that. But we need him to get hot for 4 or 5 weeks, and that will be the difference for us in winning a championship. Like, that's how much the guys in the clubhouse think of Teoscar Hernandez and his role in the lineup. And, you know, we saw that in game one, certainly. And then, you know, Jeff, you're listening to our radio telecast after that error, which was atrocious in the first inning, for him to come up later in the game and get both of those runs back was just so awesome in so many ways. And then him and Yama having that moment in the dugout, like that was like, that's what it's all about right there. So, you know, hopefully he can just keep it rolling, because he certainly seems to be cut from that cloth where, you know, this is the time of year where he shines.
And he should benefit from getting to face lefties from the Phillies. You know, that's who he's supposed to mash.